Okie dokie, I believe we are all the way live. Hello and welcome to my graveyard. I'm your host of the evening, the Cemetery Man from Salem, Mass. Always taking names of kicking candy ass, live and in living color here with you on Grande's Graveyard. And tonight, yes, it is the Horror Roundtable Volume 6. We have not one, not two, but three wonderful special guest hosts. First, to my immediate left, right, the parallels in these things with the camera is very weird. She is the one, the only Dana, a.k.a. Evil Dead Chick. Dana, welcome to my graveyard. Hope all is well with you tonight, my friend.
Yes, it is. Hey, everybody.
Dana is one of my favorite people on the planet. She streams almost every night, barring Fridays. Really, really great person. I've been wanting to have her on for the longest time. Super excited you can make the time tonight. So thank you so much for joining. We have below her, the one, the only, just returning from vacation today, Matteo Appendino. And to you, my friend, I say ciao, Matteo. What's going on, buddy?
And I reply, ciao, Grande. Everything is good, relaxed, ready to go, and hi to everyone.
I think you got a nice tan too. I'm just saying, man. I think you were out in the sun hiking, kicking some ass. You had that sandwich you were telling me about, right?
I did 3 times actually, once a week. I went to the market and I had the inners of cow sandwich.
Inners of cow sandwich, ladies and gents. Only in Italy, only on the graveyard. And of course, right next to him, immediately below me, you may know this guy from the chat and his wonderful channel. He is the one, the only Sean Blu Digital. Welcome to the graveyard, my friend.
Yeah, thank you for having me on, man. I really do appreciate this. I've been looking forward to it.
Yeah, no, I've been wanting to have you on for the longest time because you're like one of my biggest, supporters in the chat, and you said nothing but nice things about me in the channel. So that's not lost on me. I appreciate it. And I figured tonight we initiate you guys on Grande's Graveyard. We got a bunch of people in the chat tonight. Of course, roundtable format, always so really fun shows where, of course, each one of us have brought 2 topics to the table. There's 4 of us, 8 topics, and 0 regrets tonight on Grande's Graveyard. Let's say hi to the chat, and we'll do some getting to know you questions. Miss C was here before we even went live. Ciao, Grande, Matteo, Sean Blu, and Evil Dead Girl. Evil Dead Girl. No, that's the chick, all right? We got a little bit more edge there. Anthony Chobot is here, by the way. Got 869 subs. There you go. That's anyone with 69 is always sexy. Hello, everyone. Sean Blu Digital is here. He's actually here. Hi, everyone. Slasher Fred. Hi, guys. Dana saying, I'm sorry, Unseen saying hi to Dana, throwing a heart and a wave. And the heart to be. Yo, John. What's up, THC Texas? Hope all is well. G. Everyone's getting hearts from Blissful, man. Blissful's feeling it. Dirk is here. Subjective Perspective Collective, SPC. Hey, now, how y'all doing? What's up, Dirk? Hope all is well with you, man. So a bunch of people in the chat already. We've got Mayanne here. Bunch of people saying hi. So I'm happy to have you all on tonight. We're going to get right into this thing, but I always do this for first-time guests. We're going to initiate you into the graveyard, ladies and gents. First question is for Dana, the Evil Dead Chick, the lady present. All right, Dana, tough question here. You can go out to dinner with any 2 horror celebrities, living or dead. Where are you going with, and who are you going with?
Okay. This one is actually pretty easy. Hopefully I can count this one as a horror celebrity. So Bruce Campbell would be one of them for obvious reasons. You don't go by Evil Dead Chick name and not love the Evil Dead movies. So, and the other one would be Stephen King, because to me, he's a horror celebrity. And let's see, I love Italian food. I love Japanese food too, but I think I'm going to have to go with Italian for this one. And let's see, what's the best? I'm trying to think of the best Italian place here in Louisville. Well, I'll just go with my old standby, which a lot of people might say, wow, that's not upper crust Italian, but the Olive Garden, I love the Olive Garden. Me and Steve's 10th wedding anniversary is getting ready to come up, and so he's taking me to Olive Garden this weekend, so you can tell how much I love it.
That's
so, yeah, I'd love to be linking arms with Bruce Campbell and Stephen King and going to Olive Garden.
Maybe they'll meet you there. Maybe they'll meet you there this Saturday with Steve. And the
That would
amount of
be
money those
awesome.
two guys have made, I think they owe you guys a very nice 10th anniversary dinner. I hope that goes well. That's so awesome. But I like Olive Garden too. I don't know. Are you a big pasta person? Or are you like what do you usually get?
Yeah. Yeah, pasta. I usually get, this probably sounds pretty basic to people, but I don't get anything elaborate. I usually get spaghetti and meat sauce, and then I'll get the pasti fagioli soup that they have at Olive Garden. So I get that kind of little combo, and then I gotta have me some wine when I'm there. So I usually try to get a sweet wine and drink it with
Are you
a meal.
red wine person or are you a white wine person?
I've drank a little bit of both, but I may be wrong on this, but the wines that I've drank, I found more of like the lighter colored wines, the sparkling wines, to be sweeter. And so I usually stick with those, a Moscato or something like that.
Well, I know you're a Mountain Dew drinker, just like me. I think you're sneaking one there on the.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hell yeah. Dana has a good palate. If I drank wine, I bet you I'd like that same sparkling wine. So that
you probably would.
The Undead of Nika, Brother Thomas here, saying hi to all of us. Welcome, my friend. Just want to make sure I got everybody here. I'm scrolling down slowly but surely. Rainbow Fright is here. She says, hey, them breadsticks are everything. Hell yeah. We got Darren Burrows in the house. Hey, guys. What's going on, Darren? Hope all is well with you, my friend. And then Slush says, if I went out with a dead celebrity, it would be the actress who played Christie in the 1925 version of The Phantom of the Opera. Wow, that's almost 100 years ago. That would be some hell of a dinner right there. I don't know. But all right, second question is for Mr. Sean Blu Digital. All right, this is a getting to know you question, a fun one. All right, you get stranded on a desert island. You only have one food that you can eat for the rest of your life and 3 horror Blu-rays, DVDs, 4Ks, whatever you could bring with you to the desert island. You got a player, you got a TV, you got the whole setup. What 3 movies you bring in and what food are you having for the rest of your life? I'll give you a drink too. You can have a drink with it too.
I can have a drink with it.
Any drink you want as well for the rest of your life.
And 3 movies.
Mm-hmm.
3 movies on a desert island. Well, the first one is going to have to be Jaws, because Jaws right there is one of the first films that really introduced me to cinema, and also introduced me to the feeling of terror and while watching a movie. So that is still up there as one of my all-time favorite films too, is the original Jaws. I know it gets picked apart here and there from people. A lot of people consider it overrated. I still find it to be a very effective movie, but yeah, I got to pick Jaws. I'm going to probably go with I'm probably going to have to go with George A. Romero's Dawn of the Dead from 78.
The GOAT.
Got to go with that one. And I feel like I need a slasher in here somehow.
I'm surprised you went Jaws on a desert island. I'd be scared to bring that one with me on a desert island. I'd be like, that's the one that can get me here.
Yeah, but I feel like it would add to the atmosphere more watching it. But yeah, it's kind of a double-edged sword there. But I'm trying to think of a slasher right now. I'm gonna go with Friday the 13th Part 2.
All right, little steel cage there. But what are you drinking and eating along with these 3 movies the rest of your life that you're going to have to watch over and over?
Well, I can never get tired of pizza. I know it's cliche, but I can never get tired of pizza. So
any toppings, or are you doing regular?
Yeah. Give me some pepperoni pizza, and give me some pumpkin ale. I want some pumpkin ale.
Hell yeah. All right. Little pumpkin ale, little Dawn of the Dead, little pepperoni pizza. I think that's quite a desert island you have, man. I might just join you. Alpha Romero is here. Hell of a crew you got here, Grande. What's up, everybody? Alpha, welcome, my friend. Always good to see you on here. Dead Pit Radio, I'm assuming it's West. Where's Dana's hat at?
Dana couldn't wear the hat tonight because I've got my big headphones on.
Hell yeah. Dead Pit, welcome, my friend. Jaws made people afraid of going in the water, and Sean Blu Digital's all about it, man. He's going to be right on the water watching. Does a box set count as one movie? Well, I said any addition, so I guess, yeah, you could do box sets, which would be pretty smart. Hey, welcome. Brett, Ghostface Brett is here. Jaws is still a masterpiece. Absolutely. I def bring some kind of porn. All right, well, fair enough. I guess I think Alfa Romero would probably be bringing, I don't know, what would he, maybe the fireworks woman from Wes Craven, or he'd have to have some horror porn in there. I don't know. Look at the panel.
I didn't even think about that.
Kal-El Daly, yeah. I mean, yeah, no, he's gonna be boring on this desert island. But all right, so we have gotten our initiations here. Our roundtable. Let's wind it up. Ladies first is the old saying. Dana, what do you got for us? First topic of the roundtable.
All right, now this might be a little controversial, but I want to kick this thing off right. So let's talk about the sad state of horror right now. I personally think it's in pitiful shape, and I don't know if we can come back from this. It's pretty bad. But I want to hear what you guys think about it, because maybe I'm totally off base. Maybe I don't have the right perspective on it. So I was just curious what you guys all thought about it.
Anybody want to take that first?
I'll go first, I guess, but overall, man, I just feel like studios just really need to let people work. Just let them be creative in their own way. And unfortunately, it just seems like a lot of stuff, like, a lot of stuff nowadays, especially with horror films, is just being converted. Like these classic movies are being converted into TV shows, or they're being remade or rebooted, and there's no originality to it. And every time I see a new trailer coming out, I'm not excited. I'm not excited about anything that comes out anymore. I just wait until it comes out, and I'm usually disappointed.
Yeah.
I think too, like you have it feels like two studios that constantly go theatrical. You have the A24 stuff, you have the Blumhouse stuff, and I feel like you're on opposite ends of the spectrum with both those movies. The Blumhouse stuff is generally very like mindless, cheesy, like popcorn movies, and then the A24 stuff, it's deep and contextual and dealing with all these different dramatic themes of horror, like themes of grief and themes of, sadness and all of these things that are a little bit more, three-dimensional than your standard popcorn horror movie. I feel like we're missing the studio in the middle. I think there needs to be that middle ground that does a little bit of both. Like, we can have deeper themes, but we can also, have fun at the movies, which is, definitely what a lot of people want to do. I think the state of the genre, though, I agree with you, it is pitiful, because you look at what's come out theatrically this year. I mean, you had the Scream 6, you have the Saw 10 coming out in a couple of months. You had it's just all sequels now. And even in mainstream, like Indiana Jones 5, that motherfucker's 80 years old. Like, does anybody really care anymore? And I just don't get it. And it's just no wonder that this stuff flops. It's because even nostalgia now, it doesn't seem like it's making as much money as it used to. And this Exorcist Believer looked like garbage. All it is just retreading, or like the best we can do is nostalgia. And it's disheartening as a fan, because I do think there probably are good independent horror movies out there, but they're not getting enough press release. They're not getting enough, wide release. You don't hear about that stuff as much. And it's a shame. I think we need that middle ground studio. For me, I agree with you, Dan. It's pitiful. It's really bad.
No, I agree with Sean too, that there's basically no originality.
Yeah.
At all. You got the same people retreading the same tired stuff. Like, give me something new. Like, I would love to see somebody do an original slasher film. It doesn't have to be a throwback. It doesn't have to be a homage. Just give me a good film, or an entertaining film. I guess slashers aren't really good films, but they're entertaining. But I don't think anything's entertaining anymore. I mean, people might feel differently about this than I do, but I think the last good, decent horror-related film I saw at the theater was that Boogeyman movie that came out based on the Stephen King story. And a lot of people were saying, like when that was announced, they were like, "Oh, that can't be good," but it was actually pretty good for PG-13. It was definitely a decent watch.
Yeah. I don't know. Like I see some people here in the chat. Like I see Rainbow mentions "Talk to Me," which just came out today. Which that definitely did look like something different. But again, the studio, the A24, it's like I won't lie to you. Initially, when I hear it, I'm like, I don't know. Like I've been let down by like. I think also with some of the horror stuff now, it's very mismarketed. Like you look at Lamb, you look at It Comes at Night. Those were marketed as straight up horror movies, and they really weren't. You know, Lamb was like a fucked up drama, like a really, really fucked up drama. And I went to the theater thinking I was going to get one thing, got something completely else. And not to say that was a bad thing, but it's mismarketing. I mean, I'm there to see a horror movie, and that's really not what you delivered. So I can understand, you know, why people get upset. I see Alpha says, I personally think horror is in the best shape it's been in years. It's not great, but it's definitely the best it's been since the mid 2000s for me. Okay, fair enough. Hereditary, Barbarian, Malignant, all pretty fresh horror films that I personally really loved. Few gems here and there. And Darren's last film to blow me away was last night. So that was a good one. Yeah, a lot of the ones you guys mentioned were really good. But I don't know. Like, I feel like that stuff is all few and far between, you know? Like, we don't get an overabundant. We're not in like a phase right now like we were in the past, like for better or for worse. But I don't know. What do you think, Matteo?
I think for me, horror genre for the moment is in a comatose status, and I don't want to be a nostalgic, like you said. Nostalgia is always bad because it's like what you think it was, but it really wasn't. So I really like the 60s, 70s, and 80s. For me, the 90s, I can tell you 10, probably, 10 good horrors. Same for the 2000. I think also that the fruition, so how the horror is consumed now with the streaming, it does not really gives the real thrill that you have watching a horror in the movie theater. I think that the new generation is just using the streaming, which does not give the same effect. And I think it's dead. But as you guys were saying as well, I don't want to see another Dracula. I don't want to see another Frankenstein. I don't want to see like stuff that is done and redone. But also thinking of the status of horror now, if I think about It 1 and 2, that's not the horror that I want to watch. I want to watch something different, not just done in old CGI, not scaring. I want like a director or something new that scares me in a way that I've not been scared before. And I think that is not my cup of cake, but Jordan Peele, for example, is going a different way with it, which I think it's a smart way to do horror. So I think for the moment, he's the one that I will follow instead of like Muschietti and his It 1 and 2 that were like terrible, in my opinion.
Yeah, and it's like you do see I really like Robert Eggers' movies. Like I thought The Lighthouse was wonderful. I thought The Witch was wonderful. I thought those were movies that
The Witch was good.
They scared me in different ways, but I wish there was a little bit more of that stuff. Like it seems so few and far between. And I think a lot of these young up and comers, they're not given the chance to grow. Like, okay, if you had a young up and comer, okay, we want you to do another Frankenstein. We want you to do another Dracula. We want you to do another It movie. How will they expect it to grow? Like imagine instead of, you know, Last House on the Left and The Hills Have Eyes and Nightmare on Elm Street, Wes Craven was just handed, hey, we want you to do Dracula. Like, that's what we want you to do. You would have robbed us of all of these wonderful creative movies that he was making originally at the time and on minuscule low budgets and selling them like hotcakes around the world. I just think, like, I wonder how much of this stuff we're being robbed of from these guys that do want to create new things. But instead, the big job is we know that Freddy will sell tickets. We know Michael Myers will sell tickets. So we're just going to do another one of those because they're afraid of bombs. And I think I understand why they're afraid, but at the same time, how do you know if you don't take a chance, you know?
Yeah. Like it really makes you wonder, like, what really gets in the way of making a movie sometimes. Is it really the studios or is it the actual creative crew that's involved? Like, you never really get to find out that information of what gets in the way of a film sometimes, you know?
Yeah. Let's see. Rainbow says Baskin fits what Matteo was talking about really well. Mernsey, great choices. Absolutely. The Lighthouse is crazy. Juno 2000, welcome, man. You guys were streaming last night. You and Sean Blue, welcome, my friend. Yeah, no, I definitely, I don't know. That's an interesting one. I think it's dead. But does anybody have anything else they want to add to that?
I have one other thing. Of the new movies coming out, I saw Terrifier, and I want to know, like, what's your take on that movie? Like, I found it like unnecessary, and at the end of the movie, I'm thinking it's how kids these like today get scared. It's like you beat someone to the pulp until you see like the brain and intestine coming out. Is this like the way that they get scared? Because for me, it's just gratuitous. I like need something different to be on edge. I just want to know what you think.
I just want to say that, like, I like the well-placed gore film as much as anybody does in horror circles. But I see what you're saying, Matteo, about like the stuff that's coming out now. The violence is just gratuitous. It's not there for any other purpose. I think when Fulci was doing gore, when Argento would do gore, they were, I know Argento had to be thinking about art. Now, I don't know so much about Fulci, but I think Fulci just didn't care. He was just putting stuff out there, and if you liked it, you liked it. If you didn't, screw you. I'm going to make my movie the way I want to make it. But I thought that was well placed gore. Now, this stuff where you just watch somebody beaten to a pulp, or if Dirk's still in here, he's going to kill me for saying this, because I always bring up Terrifier 2, because Terrifier was okay. It had just the right amount of gore. But Steve and I both, when we watched Terrifier 2, we just looked at each other and said, that was just overkill. And for us to say that, as many of these gore, exploitation, horror films we watched, that's saying a lot for us. When we look at each other after a movie's over, it's like, that was overkill. So I think too many of the films now just go for that. And I don't know if it's a scare thing. I don't know if the younger generation is getting scared by it, or they're just like, oh, goody, goody, goody. There's more, I like this violence. I like this gore. They're just getting giddy with it. So I don't know. I don't know if it's a fear thing so much, or it's just the excitement of watching this ultra violence on the screen.
Yeah, I think like it's a perfect example is the difference between those two movies. The first one I thought did have some scary elements to it, like when they were in the pizzeria and taking pictures, the way they buttered you up and to build up to the gore. And here's the difference between those two movies as well. The first one's like 80 minutes. The second one was like long as The Godfather. It was unnecessarily long. And I do agree, Dan, that definitely the appeal is the giddy giddy. I just want to see a lot of gore, because I saw it in the theater, man. It was packed and there were people having a good time. Like it was really, but I've thought to myself, I'm like, number one, did this really have to be 2.5 hours long? I was like, this is a little bit over the top here. Whereas the first one I thought worked as like an underground midnight slasher horror movie, and I thought it worked well, and I was excited to see the sequel until I found out how long, and then I saw it. I was like, I don't know, like you had a lot of interesting ideas here, but it felt a little bit self-indulgent to me, because even considering how it's a dumb slasher movie, it still felt self-indulgent somehow. So I don't know. I definitely I get why people like the movies, but at the same time, I agree with Matteo. It's not what I'm looking for at the same time. Like, it's fine. It's a fine turn my brain off, but I would think a movie like that would be shorter, would work better. Like, cut an hour out of it.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I think Terrifier 2, like, that's my only real issue with the movie is the running time. But you could see that they had more money to work with, which is why the movie is longer. They had more budget to work with in this movie, and they kind of went a little overboard with it, though, which I will agree. And I'm not exactly somebody who watches stuff for just for gore and gratuitous nudity and stuff like that. But like I need a good storyline to get me into that, and then like the gore and the blood and guts and everything that comes with it. That's just extra to me. So I mean, I do like Terrifier for what it is, but if I start seeing more and more stuff that's like Terrifier, I'm gonna be drowned in it and get tired of it real quick. 'Cause it's
Yeah.
really not something that's up my alley.
Yeah, they'll water it down. I think art is the reason the first one got that. It became like an icon almost. Like people just
Right.
that worked. And then it was in the Tales of Halloween. Then it was like, all right, we got to take off with this. And I appreciate that they did. Like the Laid to Rest and Gutter Balls and all these like smaller slasher movies from like 10, 15 years ago that were direct to video that got no love or attention from mainstream audiences. It's nice to see that type of movie get that mainstream attention. I just feel like, yeah, definitely could have cut the fat off of it a little bit, but I don't know. It is. But all right, Matteo, I guess topic number 2, my friend. What do you got for us?
All right, so the topic I want to talk about is horror sagas. So movies that had more than one movie under their belts. But it would be such a long discussion to just talk about that. So I put it in a way that of all the sagas of horror that there are, which I have a little list I'm going to go through very quick. You have to take out of the existent 3 of them, but the first one remains, so it's going to be a standalone movie. So, well, we know the most famous one, but for example, Jaws, The Exorcist, Hellraiser, Conjuring, The Ring, Amityville, like all those movies. So I'll get you time to think, and I'll go through mine. So then you have an idea. So for me, all the movies of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre after the first one are useless. Are like compared to the first one, nothing can compare that. So for me, Texas Chainsaw, it's a standalone movie, and it's one of the best horror movies, in my opinion. Then the Paranormal Activity saga can disappear from existence. And I am not glad that the first one will stay a standalone. I will say that I made the rules, but I cannot break them. So the first one, unfortunately, has to stay. And another one that I think that the other one compared to the first one are so weak that don't even like get my attention are the Exorcist sagas. For me, the first one of the 1970s, it's a great standalone. It ends well. It ends in a way that nobody expects. So we don't want to have to see Pazuzu come back for the second and third movie. So for me, those 3 can just go down the drain.
Excellent picks. Excellent picks. I will second you with Chainsaw. That absolutely. That's like the one that it absolutely never needed a sequel would be Chainsaw. I will say Children of the Corn. Erase all of those movies because nobody gives a shit. Like nobody gives a shit after. I mean, even the first one's not the greatest movie. And you know what? This one would technically count would be Blair Witch. I would get rid of the Blair Witch 2 and Blair Witch 2016 because I hated both of them. So I would say those 3 for me. I definitely think the original movies can stay, and then those sequels, they can go.
I would have to throw Halloween in the mix because I love that franchise. I really do. But it wouldn't have hurt my feelings at all if they had stopped. If they wanted to do one more and then stopped, and they could have still had Halloween 3, but call it something else because that just pissed people off originally because there was no Michael Myers. You've got this essentially a standalone film stuck right in the middle of the Halloween series with Michael Myers and stuff. So yeah, people were pissed off. So if they had just had Halloween 1 and 2 bookend each other, called Halloween 3 just Season of the Witch or whatever, and put that out and just call it done. And the reason I say that for me personally is I was so excited when Halloween 4 was going to come out, because I seen the trailers, I seen all the promotional stuff. It was going to be the return of Michael Myers, and I was so excited. And although I don't hate the film, when I actually saw it, I was like, is this all we get? Seriously, is this all we get after waiting this many years for it? So that's one of them for me. This might surprise people that know me real well when I say this, because I'm also a huge fan of the Friday the 13th series.
What?
But I think they should have cut it off maybe part 4. I know I love the Kane Hodder stuff, which came later, but if you want to talk about the core group of films for that franchise, because somewhere along the way we fell completely off the map with the Friday the 13th series, and it went into realms that I was like, what in the hell? Why are they doing this? Jason X for one, and that's got my man Kane Hodder in it. I love Kane Hodder. Bless his horror-loving heart. He played Jason more times than anybody else. But Jason X is too goofy for me. It's too goofy for a Friday the 13th film. I didn't like the virtual reality girls getting naked in their sleeping bags. I just thought that was heavy-handed and gratuitous on the part of the filmmakers. But I got three guys that I got 3 guys in here with me that might say, "Hey, I appreciated the naked chicks in the sleeping bag."
Yeah, I'm not complaining.
The only part of the movie I remember.
There you go. The only part of that movie I did like was the kill where the girl's face is frozen and then he just slams it down and it shatters. Yeah. That I liked, but other than that, didn't much care for. I didn't care for the little where they were playing the no, was that on Jason X where they were playing I get them confused sometimes, where they were playing the virtual reality type game.
Yeah.
Jason comes along and throws that guy on a giant screw, and it was like, he got screwed. And I was like, come on, let's be a little more creative here. I know they were trying to be funny and, add a little humor to it, but again, I thought it was heavy-handed. And here's another one that's probably going to surprise people. I'll bring up one more.
You say Evil Dead, I'm going to faint.
No, I'm not going to bring up Evil Dead. The only thing I would take out of the Evil Dead is Evil Dead 2013, because I hate that piece of crap. And I've said that over and over again. I will never watch that thing again. But the Phantasm series.
Wow.
I think that Phantasm series maybe should have stopped around the 3rd one, even though I like the 4th one. But if they were going to make the 4th one, which they did, they waited too long for Ravager. They waited absolutely too long. And then Don Coscarelli didn't direct it, and that felt wrong. Yeah. Poor Angus Scrimm was too old and sick at that time.
Rest in peace.
To play the tall man properly. And the big thing that bothered me more than any of this other stuff about Ravager was the fact that they went and put Reggie in a nursing home with dementia. I'm like, no, God, no. Why would you do this to this character? Why? It was so sad and depressing. I was bummed out that entire film. So if they were going to stop at part 3, I think they definitely should have said, we're not going to make any more after part 4. We're going to tie it up as well as we can and just call it quits with part 4.
Wow. I'm blown away. I can't believe they just erased like 20 movies right there, man. That's hardcore. What about you, Sean?
Wait, ask me the question again. What is it again?
So of all the movie sagas that there are, and there are a lot, a lot, 3 of them, you can erase them from existence, but the first one will stay as a standalone movie.
All right, I had my picks in my head, but I just wasn't sure like what the question was. But the third one, I'm probably gonna have to go with The Omen. Like, to me, the original Omen is really just an untouchable movie. I know a lot of people want to agree with me on that, but I really, like, I have trouble getting into the other films. And I mean, what's like the fourth one is like, I was actually talking about that last night on my channel. It's like the fourth one was made for TV, but it felt like a problem child movie. But somebody took the boy out of it and put a girl in it. Like, but like, I mean, like, I know Sam Neill did a fairly good job in the third Omen movie. I feel like he actually carried that movie and made it watchable. But I just feel like the original Omen is a very untouchable movie, so I could definitely go without that franchise. Second one is going to have to be The Exorcist. I can definitely go with, I mean, I do like the third one, but I don't feel like it's even anywhere near as good as the original classic film. And yeah, the second film in the Exorcist franchise definitely doesn't help the franchise, in my opinion, at all. I know some people will try to defend that movie, but I got nothing to write home about with that movie. So definitely got to go with The Exorcist there, but my number one is going to have to be Jaws. And
Yeah.
I understand why they went and made the other films. They came to Spielberg about doing the second film, which he wasn't interested, but they went and said, look, we're going to make this movie regardless, with or without you. And they went and made those movies because they were cash grabs, but they're not even remotely anywhere near on the same level as the original film, or even in the same realm, really. Like, the second Jaws movie is good for what it is. I just wish it had more screen time for the shark. I feel like the worst film in the whole franchise is Jaws 3. Yeah, I will pick Jaws Revenge over Jaws 3. Jaws 3 is a fucking goofy ass movie right there, if you ask me. It's very goofy. It's, to me, Jaws 3 is a kid's movie. I would let my 5-year-old kid watch that with no problem. But Jaws the Revenge, that's a film I cannot defend. I will sit here and just let it get beat to death because it is a bad movie. But the opening scene of Jaws the Revenge, I saw that at a very young age, and watching Sean Brody being attacked by that shark really terrified the shit out of me. But the rest of the movie doesn't hold up to that opening scene. Therefore, it's not a worthy movie. But there's some things about Jaws the Revenge that I would pick, that would make me pick over Jaws 3. But altogether, that's an untouchable franchise. Or, I mean, it's an untouchable film with the original Jaws right there. So I can definitely do without The Omen, The Exorcist, and the Jaws franchise.
Good picks. I definitely think, yeah, no, I would agree with Jaws for sure. That never should have made a sequel to Jaws. Darren says, although I don't mind part 2, I would say Urban Legend would be fine without any sequels. Sure. I actually would have liked seeing a sequel. Yeah, that would be an interesting, like which ones that are standalone would you have liked to have seen sequels to? That would be maybe a topic for another roundtable. Actually would have liked to see a sequel to Tourist Trap or Final Exam. I know Dana's a big Final Exam fan.
Oh, yeah.
Tom says Hellraiser, Pet Sematary. Hellraiser, yeah, after part 3, those movies, wow. Like,
that almost, like, Hellraiser was really close to, like, that was, if there was a fourth one to pick, I probably would have picked Hellraiser.
It's hard because it's like, I love, like, when Dana picked Friday the 13th, I would say of all the franchises, that's my favorite. Like, I love the Friday the 13th movies. Like, probably all the Paramount 8 I can get enjoyment out of. And then when it went to New Line, yeah, that's when it went down the shitter. But, like, I love those movies. I can't lie. Like, I love almost all of the first 8.
For me, John, Jason Leaves and Jason Goes to Manhattan are like not up to the franchise.
Would you agree with? Would you erase it, Matteo? If you had the
no,
like,
for me, I'm gonna say a blasphemy, but for me, Friday the 13th, the third is better than the first. when the first Hockey Mask comes out.
A lot of people will put the sequels over. Like a lot of people will say Part 4 is the best. Like that's the big consensus with that. And then the original, everyone people say, it hasn't aged well or whatever. I really like the original, but it's interesting now. And in Dana's scenario, the sequels never existed, so it's only that original movie. It'd be interesting to see nowadays because the original really doesn't hold up the same for most people. So it'd be interesting to see like how that movie would stand in society now without all the sequels. That's the sequels definitely have aged better for majority of people, I would say.
And another one I was thinking was Saw as well, because the sequels are not up to the original. The original was an original idea that if it was left alone, maybe it would have been better than like make money out of it with 1, 2, whatever they are right now. 12, 13.
Sure. Definitely. I that one I could see for sure. I sure would love to see a sequel to Orphan. They did a prequel, I believe, to Orphan. Yeah. Pet Sematary getting a sequel. Why? Yeah. That never needed a sequel, even though Pet Sematary 2 is a guilty pleasure for me. It's just
me
silly.
too.
But it's not even half as good as the first one. More of a prequel. Okay, Candyman could have ended after. Yes, definitely agree. I don't think I like any of the other Candyman movies.
Relating back to this topic though, like I'm not really a sequel person anyway. Like usually after the third film franchise, it just dies out for me. Doesn't matter what it is. Like I could love Michael Myers to death, but after like the third, fourth film, I'm just like, all right, I'm tired of this.
Sure, yeah, but it's just I do think it's interesting to imagine a world without like there would be no Hockey Mask if you erased, like that would be gone, and then Halloween would still I think be an all-time classic.
Yeah.
But like again, like if you Phantasm, I do think Phantasm's a good like underground one. But again, all the ones Sean said, Jaws, Exorcist, Omen, all three of those movies still would stand. Like it's just interesting to think about when you start erasing stuff. Which my topic kind of has some erasing in it. Russell Collier is here. Hey guys, what's up, man? Oh shit, even worse. Slasher Fred. The Howling is an obvious choice for me, says Alpha. That's definitely a really bad franchise. I would say only the first one I like. So yeah. I definitely would skip on the Marsupials and Your Sister's a Werewolf. Some of the other Howling movies. All right. That takes us to our next topic of the evening. Sean, Blu Digital, what do you got for us, brother?
I keep thinking about horror anthologies, so I'm thinking. What's everyone's opinions on modern horror anthologies? Like the state of it today. Like what you see with horror anthologies today. Like how do you feel about them?
I don't think they're as good as the older ones. Personally. They just don't they don't have that. For me, it doesn't have the attraction. Like if I compare something that has come out in the last few years that's considered a horror anthology with something like, I'm going to reach way back here, like Trilogy of Terror, which is one I absolutely love. There is not one recent horror anthology film that could stand up to that film, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's a really good example right there. I definitely agree with you there.
I think like anthology, when I think anthology horror now, it's mostly television. It's like Black Mirror. It's, like the Creepshow series that's on now. I would say as far as films, I really enjoyed the first two VHS movies. I thought those were good anthology horror movies. But like, as far as some of the gimmick ones, like the ABCs of Death, Tales of Halloween, I thought for sure on paper, I was like, oh my God, how could I not? Not really. Trick or Treat is sort of. I mean, they're all connected, kind of. I don't know if Trick or Treat is technically anthology horror or not, but I think it's in the umbrella.
I would throw it in. I mean, it's telling stories, and they all intertwine with each other, so it's done in the same tradition, if you ask me.
Yeah, I think if you're just asking TV, I would say like Black Mirror is a really good show. I like Black Mirror a lot. I like the Creepshow. So, but again, I don't know if I'd hold any of that stuff up with Tales from the Dark Side, Tales from the Crypt, Twilight Zone. I just don't. I think they're just. I don't know. Maybe there's only so many times you could tell an anthology story, or so many ideas that you can have. Like, look at how many times they've tried to redo the Twilight Zone. It really, maybe the '80s version is the best of all the.
I feel like it is. Yeah, the '80s version.
Yeah, it's just tough. I don't know. Modern anthology, they're more television wise, I think.
Yeah, I
Quality.
do notice it's like all streaming and television oriented now with like anything that's horror related with like anthologies. But like just like going off the top of my head, like the last one that I saw that wasn't even like it was an actual movie, and that was the Mortuary Collection, and that was streaming on Shudder. That was probably like one of the last horror anthologies I really enjoyed.
What was I missed that one. Do you know when that came out?
2019, I think.
Oh, so very fairly recent. Okay.
2020.
Oh wow.
It says right here. It was a Shudder thing, and it's got what's his name from Shawshank is in it. Clancy Brown.
Oh shit, really?
Yeah, he plays like the main guy in it, who's like telling the stories. He's like the mortician, because it's called the Mortuary Collection, and he's like kind of has like that Crypt Keeper persona, except for it's like there's no like one-liners and jokes or nothing. He's just playing like this creepy mortician guy, and he starts telling stories to this one kid who like wanders onto his property one day, and then some girl shows up trying to get a job at the mortuary, and it turns out she's trying to find out more backstory on him, and it's got a nice little twist on it, and the stories are really original too, so that's why I really enjoyed it a lot.
I gotta check that out. I didn't even hear about that.
Yeah, it was. I'm pretty sure it was a Shudder thing, because it does say a Shudder original on the top there. It says it like right up on the, which I don't think I got enough light on that, but
no, I see it.
But I would definitely, yeah, like if you're a fan of horror anthologies and you're looking for something newer and modern, like I would definitely go with that. But like I really wanted to like Guillermo del Toro's Cabinet of Curiosities, but it's like real hit or miss. Like some episodes are like seem original and fairly intriguing, but other ones are just really uninteresting overall. But you can just nowadays you just can't get a solid anthology series or movie really, but the last one I saw that I thought was worthy of picking up was the Mortuary Collection.
Fair enough. I got to see the Del Toro show. I haven't watched, and I know they did some like they actually got some big actors, big directors. Like I saw Mernsey and Tom mention that the Panos Cosmatos episode. So yeah, no, that's definitely something I'd have to dive into more. I just started the new season of Black Mirror and I quite like it. But what do you think, Matteo? What do you think about anthologies right now?
Well, as you guys said, commercial release of that have changed from theater to home, like to streaming and TV series. I would really love to see an anthology back, like a very good anthology back in the theaters instead of watching it on TV. And maybe it would be a little bit cliche, but I would like to see something done very good with, for example, 3 different or 4 different directors doing an anthology movie with one common denominator, or maybe something that will never happen, but one story that I would really like to see, it would be a horror pulp fiction in a way that is not an anthology itself, but it's like stories that they bond to each other, but not like you have to find out at the end how they bond and everything. But if Tarantino will do a horror movie, he did it a little bit with From Dusk Till Dawn, but something more anthology like. So I would like to see that and not to see it as a TV series.
I noticed too, I think like I don't know how much anthology horror draws anymore. Like I really wonder what the answer to that question would be, because it seems like people are down to binge television shows, but it's very rare you see somebody binge anthology, because they want to be like, okay, this is all going to connect. I can binge the whole season in a day, and it's going to be one story at the beginning and all the way to wrap up that one story. Whereas anthologies, it's every single episode is completely new. So I don't know how much they draw anymore. Like when Masters of Horror was out, and that was like I always was just so looking forward to that as a kid. Like when that was on. I mean, I was so excited. I was like, oh my God, this week Takashi Miike. This week, holy shit, Larry Cohen. This week, oh my God, John Carpenter. Like, I loved how that was done and kind of spaced out. That was, I would say, last anthology series that I went crazy for would be Masters of Horror. I just loved that show. There's so many. Pick Me Up, Bare-Haired Child, Right to Die, Cigarette Burns, Jennifer. So many good episodes of horror television. I wish they would do something like that now. Like, I wish that like a platform would do that now. And like Matteo said, but I guess the closest thing you have to that would be the Del Toro show. Isn't the Del Toro show different director, writer? Is it similar in the way it's formatted to a Masters of Horror?
Yeah, it's from what I remember watching it, it is pretty much on the lines of that. I just don't know. I don't remember exactly who directed each episode, so I can't like answer you on that. But there's really like you're right though. There's really not a whole lot to touch upon with like newer modern horror anthologies. And like looking back on that, it's like, you know, we barely even had 2 seasons for Masters of Horror, which was I thought was a fairly good show overall. And I think also like one of the reasons why Showtime even ever really started Masters of Horror is because they originally wanted to do an anthology series with John Carpenter, but they ended up doing the Body Bags movie instead. And
Which I like
they could
that.
all like apparently they were trying to get, you know, John Carpenter, Toby Hooper, and a couple more people involved, and they couldn't get any more people. And apparently they didn't even handle Body Bags well enough and dropped the ball on that. And the whole idea of doing an anthology series on Showtime just fell apart. But years later, they ended up coming through with Masters of Horror because they know how much they dropped the ball with the Body Bags thing. But they ended up dropping the ball with Masters of Horror too because they canceled it after 2 years.
Yeah, and they gave it, didn't they? Wasn't with the story they were now censored and they changed the title of the show to Fear Itself, and then it went to
Yeah, I forgot
PBS
about
or something. It basically they just cut the balls off of it and they were like, oh, we'll call it Fear Itself and we'll put it on channel 2 where everything's censored. You can't censor horror show after you see Imprint or after you see Pelts or after you see some of the Masters of Horror episodes that were fucking raw. That was the whole idea was it's pay cable. Like you have to pay to have Showtime or an HBO or whatever the fuck, and you could show whatever you want. It's a Master of Horror that's not, you know, limited to the constraints of a 40-minute television show that can really be artistic on that palette. And I think it's nice that Del Toro is given that platform out again, but it doesn't seem like that show is doing the same things, if that makes any sense. Like it doesn't seem like, at least from what I've seen from previews and stuff, like as hardcore horror. It definitely seems different. I don't know how to explain it because I haven't really seen the Del Toro show, so I don't want to judge it or anything, but it doesn't have that same vibe or feel or look that a Masters of Horror did. I wish they would do a Masters. Imagine they did a Masters of Horror now and then brought all these directors that are in Hollywood and needing a chance or an opportunity and gave them an hour-long palette, man. Could you imagine like the shit that we would get? I think it would be amazing.
Yeah, like overall,
so we're not gonna get it.
Yeah, you're probably right. You're probably right. It's sad. It is. We should get more original stuff. We should get more guys getting chances, you know. But I mean, I guess it is what it is. I don't know, but definitely, I don't know. Horror anthologies. I wish there were more. I wish there were more of an abundance of them nowadays. Like Trick or Treat. I always felt that should have went to a movie theater. I don't get why Trick or Treat didn't go to a movie. Imagine if that came to a movie theater.
They pulled it last second. Apparently, Legendary Pictures, which is like a branch of Warner Brothers, they decided to pull it last second, and then they ended up regretting it because they saw how popular the movie ended up being.
Yeah, and all the DVDs they sold, and look at what Sam is now. I mean, he's like an icon of the holiday of Halloween. Like it's Michael Myers, then it's Sam. Like Sam is big deal. And I think if they released that in theaters, who knows all the copycats or carbon copies that we would have gotten. But I think that would have been really cool. I sometimes think it's good for the genre to have those movies that just start a wave or start a trend, and then you know we go from there. And then we have ones where, oh, you know, I actually really like this one more than Trick or Treat, and you like have that fun discussion. Trick or Treat never really got that, didn't really get its fair shake with the mainstream, other than the DVD sales, which it still made a lot of buzz when it came out. So
I know the director when he was what's his name, Michael Dougherty or something like that. He when he was working on Godzilla in 2014, this is when I was still on Facebook. He made a post on Facebook saying, as soon as I get done with my monster film, I'm going to be working on Trick or Treat too. and that was the last we ever heard of that.
I hope it will happen. I do think it will. It might be a long time because it's already been a long time, but I don't know.
It's almost 10 years since that information was released. So
yeah, so
we're getting to like it's 10 years is coming up.
We'll get them as soon as we get the Bad Taste and Dead Alive 4Ks from Peter Jackson.
Yeah, I forgot about that shit too, man. God,
always promises. All right, here's my topic. So we all know the old game of kill one, fuck one, marry one, right? I've put my own horror spin on this. Okay, instead of kill one, fuck one, marry one, tonight on Grande's Graveyard we've got erase one, embrace one, and retrace one. And let me give you a little bit of a foreground. Okay, so we have neo slashers, aka slashers that were like came out after Screen, your urban legends, your I Know What You Did Last Summers, your Valentines, slasher movies like that, neo slashers. You got found footage horror, and we got the torture porn movies. So one you erase from history, one you pick as your favorite of the three, and one you have to revisit the era and your favorite movie that came out in the era. So erase one, embrace one, retrace one. What are you doing of those three? Neo slashers, found footage, torture porn. Heavy-handed, I know. I apologize.
I can go first.
All right.
But you have to tell me again the three.
Okay, so embrace one, erase one, and retrace one. So one you're going to erase from existence. It never happened. One you're going to embrace and say is your favorite of the three.
No, which one are the genre? Sorry, the neo slasher,
neo slashers, found footage, and torture porn.
Okay, torture porn for me can be erased.
All right. So no Saw, no Hostel, no Teresa's. It's all gone. And Matteo,
all gone. Yeah, I am not a fan of the too much. Like for me, too much is always not good. Less is more. It's what I go with.
Okay.
That's why I like Texas Chainsaw Massacre. So then I will embrace the neo slashers, and I'm probably gonna go with the found footage as
retrace. And
yeah.
Which found footage movie would you retrace? Like what found footage movie do you go back and rewatch the most?
I want to say that Cloverfield.
Oh, okay. Very good pick. Love Cloverfield.
Yeah, of the found footage, because I'm not a big fan of the marketing invention called Blair Witch Project, which they did a wonderful job promoting, but the movie itself, it's I don't want to say garbage, but yeah, not very good.
Steel and Alpha say erase the torture as well. So I'm curious to hear what the Evil Dead chick and Sean Blue have to say.
I can go next if that's okay. I think I'm going to have the exact same thing as Matteo said, because I would love to get rid of torture porn. If I could erase that from history, I would definitely do that, because that just, I feel like torture porn doesn't have a place it definitely doesn't have a place in horror movie history. It just kind of wedged and forced its way in there. And it had an audience, and I guess that's why it stuck around. But yeah, it's not my thing at all. I would embrace the neo slashers because I like many of those. I enjoy them. And retrace the found footage, but here's where I'm going to be different than Matteo, because I would probably go back and revisit Blair Witch Project.
Yeah, I mean, I hate to be cliche, but I'm in like the same boat here. I really am. Like, I'm thinking about it, I'm like, damn, I'm going to be the last one to pick the same picks, but it really is like, I would definitely embrace the neo slashers, and the torture porn. Like I'm like thinking about my collection right now, and like I don't even think I really have anything close to that. I know I have a Serbian film in my collection, which was actually given to me from somebody. I didn't actually go out and buy the movie; someone gave it to me, and torture porn just doesn't have rewatchable value to me. it's a one hit and one done. Like it's like, all right, I watched it, I saw it, I'm moving on now. Kind of like how, like, I mean, like for instance, the I don't know if you guys remember the older film from 1976 called Snuff. You guys ever
Yeah.
see Snuff
Oh,
before?
yeah.
The original Snuff movie.
Yep.
Like I can appreciate that because of when it came out. Like nobody was doing that then. It was fresh. It was like, oh, okay, what's this? This seems really terrifying because it's very violent. But as like that stuff goes on and you get to the found footage of it too, with torture porn, it becomes repetitive. It's nothing new, and it just comes recycle. It's just recycled shit. And if I feel like if I want to see that, I can see that in a regular horror movie. I can get that enjoyment in a regular gory horror movie than having it slammed in my face and then dumped down my throat. But yeah, overall, I would definitely keep the neo slashers, and yeah, get rid of the torture porn and revisit the found footage franchise. And I would definitely have to lean right on Cannibal Holocaust. Definitely would lean on that heavy.
Hell yeah. Love that movie. Darren says, LOL, erase Eli Roth. Yeah, well, Hostel would be gone in that scenario. So we've erased
Yeah.
Dana, Matteo, and Sean have all collectively erased Saw, Snuff, Faces of Death, all these movies, Hostel, they're all gone. Teresa's, they've been erased. So I'm going to be the odd man out on this total poll here. I actually am retracing the same one. I am retracing found footage. That one of the three, I do agree with you guys. So we're all agreeing we're revisiting found footage. And I actually would double what Sean said. I would say Cannibal Holocaust is the best found footage horror that there ever was. But that means I'm going to erase neo slashers. So this is pretty crazy because now Scream doesn't exist. I Know What You Did Last Summer doesn't exist. Valentine, all these movies do not exist anymore. And I would say this, if there was ever a time in the genre where I felt like something did not age well after it came out, that's one of the times. Like did people really, I mean, I don't know, maybe you guys do and I'm crazy. Or do you guys go back and rewatch a Valentine, I Know What You Did Last Summer, Urban Legend? Like, are you guys nostalgic for those movies, or maybe they were just a big deal at the time? To me, that's how I see them. But
Urban Legend is nostalgic for me, but stuff like Valentine, I generally don't go back and watch that unless it's around Valentine's Day. It's not like I watch it every month or anything.
Would you put Jeepers Creepers in the new slasher?
I mean, it's got elements.
I would watch that.
It's got elements. Well, it would be. I like that movie too. I actually watch that pretty much every October. I think that's actually a really good movie. But my scenario I guess that would be gone.
You will embrace the torture porn,
dude. Yeah, I actually would. I would embrace it just because I think that at the time of its release, it was definitely a big deal. Like everybody and their mother was going to see these movies, and it gave horror a different aesthetic than it even has now. It gave horror a forbidden factor again, and it was a sort of a way for people to live those. I don't know how to explain it. It reminds me a lot of the cannibal genre. Like cannibal genres, they came out, they came, they went, but they were like raw, taboo, forbidden. I feel like a lot of those torture porn movies had that too. Like, granted, there's some I don't like Hostel. I'm definitely not a fan of Hostel, but like I love the first couple Saws. I do. And even some of the horror like Captivity, and I always remember the Dead Pit on the Road, Craptivity. I don't know. I definitely think it gave horror a different feel. Like I'd say Human Centipede, that stuff. While it's not the greatest, it definitely was just a different feel. It was just a different time in the genre. I kind of would like to embrace it. I don't know. Different. I know, weird answer, but I don't know. That's what I would go with. I'd embrace that one for sure. Very, very controversial. I'm sorry to disagree with the
no, it's interesting.
You give your opinion, John.
Yeah, no, and it's fun. It's fun to think in theory of which one. Like, if you erase these movies, like what happens to Wes Craven? In my theory, like Wes Craven never does Scream. He's working off Vampire in Brooklyn. Like, does he just fucking retire? Like, what would he do? Like I really wonder what would have happened to him, man. Like it would have. That Scream saved his career. Like it really, really did. Let's see. Wouldn't Terrifier 2 be sort of considered torture porn? I definitely think it could be on that umbrella for sure. Mikey J, I like torture porn. I like everything extreme. All right, Mikey J is all for it. He says hi to all of us.
You could say that, but like I just feel like that the art icon overshadows that.
Yeah, that's true. Definitely. Sarah Michelle Gellar had a great chase scene. I know what you did last summer. I think I saw Tom had asked us a question. I want to get back to where that was.
And John, I agree with Sean that like torture porn, so once like you don't want to go back, because I don't want to go back watching Human Centipede 2 or stuff like that. Like but I agree on that statement with Sean.
Yeah, no, just, I don't know, just to be a little different. Tom's asks, did you guys see Nightmares and Dreamscapes, a Stephen King anthology series that had a few good versions of his short stories? I did not. Did any of you guys?
Yeah, I've seen it.
I read the book. It's a book like this. It was.
I read the book too.
It was awesome. Awesome book.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I never read the book, but I've seen it. I also remember Amazing Stories. You guys remember Amazing Stories?
That I remember, yeah. Yeah, that show was interesting, man. I liked Amazing Stories. But all right, next topic, Miss Evil Dead Chick.
Okay. I hope everybody finds this interesting because I just kind of got back into this. And so I want to talk about shot on video horror from 1982 to 1995. That was pretty much the heyday of it. And I got to show off my book here. Analog Nightmares. You can't see it real good because my green screen thing is messing with it. But I picked this up from Amazon. You could probably still get a copy if you were interested in it. So we're talking about things like Boarding House. Boarding House was pretty much the first like shot on video type of horror movie. But then after that you had things like Blood Cult and then Revenge, which was Blood Cult 2. You had Blood Lake.
Cannibal Camp House.
I wonder if that's included in here because I've got all the different movies. Well, I thought I did. Oh, there we go.
Murphy has the book. He says it's awesome.
Oh, okay. Somebody else is going. Cannibal Camp Out is listed in here.
There you go.
I believe Wood Chipper Massacre should be in here too.
Oh, you got the John McBride joints right there.
Yeah, Wood Chipper Massacre's in here. 555. Anybody remember that one?
I've heard of it.
Black Devil Doll from Hell from 84.
Darren says video violence.
Yeah, video violence is in this book as well. There's one called, some of these I had never heard of, and I want to try. My goal is to try to watch every one of these that's in this book. So I gotta, there's several that I gotta run down. There's one called Blonde Death, which I saw part of, and you talk about insane. That one fits the bill. A lot of these aren't very long. Crazy Fat Ethel 2.
Yes.
Criminally Insane. Criminally Insane's in here. Dark Harvest from 1990.
That's a good one. Or Blood Harvest.
Let's see.
I think it's Blood Harvest, the one I'm talking about.
Blood Harvest is great, but I don't see that one listed in here. Let's see. The Death Nurse movies, which were basically like Criminally Insane and Crazy Fat Ethel, only she was a nurse.
Yeah.
Killing people in those movies.
I have those on DVD somewhere in my collection.
Death Nurse. That's right.
But yeah, there's one called Gore Whore from 1994.
Can be interesting.
Gotta love all the rhyming there. Gore Whore from 1994.
Killer Nerd. And I'm not trying to be offensive, but there is one called L.A. Age Jabber.
Yeah,
and me and Steve have seen that. That's another really crazy one. Houseboat Horror from 1989. Yeah. Heavy Metal Massacre, that's another one from 89. But so I just want to know, one, have you guys seen very many of these shot on video slashers or horror movies from that time period? And do you have a favorite? Because I would love to hear what everybody thinks about these.
I always remember Splatter Farm, if you would count that. I loved Splatter Farm, which was I think it was it the
Splatter Farm is in here.
yeah,
So,
Splatter
yeah.
Farm is a movie I always really liked. There's the two brothers, and I remember always like thinking that was a great midnight movie, like somebody's put on. And also, I would say Cannibal Campout was another one that I think I have the DVD of it somewhere. I always remember the guy with the fucking helmet running around in there, like, oh my god, I love that movie. I don't know, like, that's funny. That's one subgenre of horror that I really don't think about much. So I appreciate you thinking of that. But they are all like just low budget, but you do get enjoyment out of them. Like, I do think that there's a charm in their badness, some of them. Like the gore effects and the over the topness, and it does bring you back to an era. And they do have a certain feel to them, where it may not be the most, the greatest feel, but I definitely think they have a charm. So I don't know. For me, I'd say Splatter Farm and or Cannibal Campout. For me, I love both those movies. But I got to revisit them more. I really do. I don't watch them enough. What about you guys?
Yeah, I'm not very big on shot on video horror. I'm familiar with a lot of them. I haven't seen a lot of them. Like, I'm familiar more with the titles and seeing trailers and stuff, but it's not really something that ever, like, I don't know. It's like sometimes when you're watching shot on video, it's like as the movie goes along, you just see the quality just dripping away, and it's just hard to stay invested in the shot on horror for me. It really is.
Mersey mentions The Burning Moon, Olaf Ittenbach, amazing shot on video horror movie. I've not seen that one.
That one's wild too. Steve and I watched that one a while back.
I think that was released from the Intervision line from Severin. I think they released
so.
That says right. Yeah.
Steele says 12 Tales from the Quiet Dead Zone. Which I remember. Actually, somebody reviewed that. I forget who the hell. I think Mike Corey might have reviewed it. And it was really interesting. I've never seen the movie. I've heard it's quite bad, but I've always kind of wanted to see it.
Yeah, I haven't seen that one.
No, me neither. How about you, Matteo?
Overall, like, I feel like there's a place for shot on video horror. I mean, you see Wild Eye is still releasing some stuff like that nowadays, shot on video horror. But I know Evil Dead Chick was talking about a specific era, though, between, what was that, 82 and 90, she said?
82 to 95.
95, yeah. Like, that particular era, though, it never really clicked with me. Like, it had me interested. I would check some of them out, but it never really clicked with me, I guess you could say.
Would Bad Taste be considered shot on video horror? Super low.
I would probably consider it. It's shot on 16, I believe.
It's not listed in this book, but that doesn't mean that it couldn't be considered.
Yeah, if it's considered, I would say Bad Taste for me actually would be.
I mean, if anything shot on like 16, like that's pretty much, shot on video, like I consider it shot on video.
So for me, Grande, it's I think exactly like Sean. I haven't seen many. Probably, if we count Bad Taste, I've seen probably only Bad Taste from beginning to end. But it's actually a subgenre that after this roundtable, probably I can watch more, so I can know more about it. So Evil Dead Chick, that was a good, new thing to explore. At the same time, it's not an excuse, but since I grew up in Italy since my late 20s, the shot on video is not something, it's something more North American than European. I don't think I had even like an interaction with it when I was in Italy because, we have just theaters and the shot to video, it was only available to a North American audience. So something that I'm going to look after this roundtable for sure.
Cool.
Very cool.
Like,
Undead says Dana is doing with the Analog Nightmares book, trying to find movies. I'm doing the same with Stephen King's Dance Macabre book. Okay, different styles there, but definitely very cool. Boarding House has a 2.5 hour cut. That's rough watch, but it has comedic value. Yeah, some of them do. They have comedic value. That's the thing. Sledgehammer.
Sledgehammer, yeah.
Walk, yeah, Sledgehammer. Okay, so you got some Sledgehammer fans, but no, I appreciate it. That was an interesting topic. I definitely, I wouldn't have thought of that personally. But
I thought the years that she mentioned is what really got me, because she said between a specific era there, like that, going from the early 80s into the mid 90s there, like it really had me thinking about some other shot on video horror films, but overall it never really clicked with me though.
I feel that completely. But Matteo, my friend, what do you got for us?
Okay, so I want to talk about horror directors, but I want to put it in a sort of a game form. So we are able to build our perfect horror director, and I have generalized, but I came out with basically 6 tasks that a director has, or supervise other people or makes decision for it. So the 6 are storytelling, cinematography, special effects, casting, camera work, and budget to execution. So you are able to take the best director you think it is for that category, and basically build the best director using directors that are the best at these prerogatives.
Ooh, all right. This is another multi-layered one here, Matteo. Okay, let me look at this. So budget to execution, I'd go Romero. I definitely think Romero is the best that could make a lot out of nothing. Like, he made so many movies that were cheap and made them masterpieces. I mean, Night of the Living Dead, Dawn of the Dead were both made for less than $1 million. And I would say they're both like perfect movies. Day of the Dead, another one, like what, $3.5 million? He made a gem. Martin, another one. I think it had a budget of like 125,000, if that. And Martin's a great movie that everybody that sees usually likes. So budget execution, I go Romero. Camera work, I'm going to go with Baba. I think Mario Baba is the best camera work guy. Actually, no, Baba for cinematography. I would go Baba. Camera work, I'll go Kubrick. Casting, that's really tough, man. I don't know. Casting wise is tough.
You want to hear mine about casting?
Yeah, go. Yeah, sure.
For me, the best at casting, it's Wes Craven, because every Nightmare on Elm Street, The Last House on the Left, Hills Have Eyes, they all have like wonderful casting. They're not actors, like famous actors, but like together, even if you think of Scream, you can like it or not, but the cast, it's part of the movie. It has very good casting.
And David Hess steals Last House.
Yeah. And also, I will probably go Wes Craven, but I think that Romero is another one of casting that is very good. You always can find a very good ensemble of casting, and they always look great on screen.
Yeah, and even Romero sometimes would hire, like in Dawn of the Dead, he hired half of them from a diner. He was like, "Hey, you want to be in my movie?" And it's like, "What?" And the guy did a great job. Like, it's just so crazy how that kind of all worked out. So you know what? I'll double you. I'll go casting with Craven. Special effects and storytelling now. Special effects. I mean, give me anybody. I get Savini, right? If Savini directed some movies, so I'll go Savini with special effects. And storytelling, I think we'll go John Carpenter. So we got Carpenter for storytelling, Baba for cinematography, Savini for effects, Craven for casting, Argento for camera work, Romero for budget to execution. So that would be your ultimate 6-layered director for me.
So that's what, 6 categories we got to pick from there?
Yeah, he's got it in the private chat if you want to go through with that. That's how I picked it off one by one.
I can go while you guys are thinking if you want. I have them good to go.
Yeah, go ahead.
So for storytelling, I go with Toby Hooper.
Ooh, all right.
Yeah, because Texas Chainsaw, Poltergeist, Silent Lot are all like great stories, and like cannot find a flaw in that. Even a movie that the director that probably a lot of people are gonna go which is The Mangler. I think that like the story itself was not like a bad story if you think that it talks about a laundry press. So it's something that you have to stretch it a bit. With cinematography, I'm gonna go with you, Grande, because Mario Bava, yes, Blood and Black Lace, Bay of Blood, and even the first Giallo ever made, which is The Girls Who Knew Too Much,
Yeah.
Who Knew Too Much, has a great cinematography. For special effect, I'm gonna go Carpenter because the body horror of The Thing, for me, it's maybe a pinnacle of body horror, and I will go with that. Casting, I'll stick with Wes Craven. So camera work, I want to say that I thought about two great movies which are The Shining and Carrie, but I don't consider Kubrick and De Palma two horror directors.
Sure.
So I think that Carrie, it's beautiful, and also The Shining, how it's shot is beautiful. But I'm gonna go with Argento for camera work as well. And budget to execution, I'm gonna go Sam Raimi because Evil Dead and Evil Dead 2 are done with 3 pennies and 2 dimes. So, and it's one of the best independent movies ever done. So for me, those are makes the perfect director.
Great picks.
All right, I'll go next here. I gotta look at this again. So for storytelling, oh man, I'm gonna have to go with Stephen King for storytelling. It's just undeniable right there for me. Cinematography. So I'm gonna go with George A. Romero. I think I gotta go with cinematography, special effects. Wait, so we pick a director for special effects? Is what we're doing here?
Yeah.
I'm gonna go with John Carpenter for special effects. Casting, yeah, I gotta like ever since you said Wes Craven, it's like that's like a perfect slot for him right there. So I gotta go with Wes Craven for that. Camera work, I'm gonna go Mario Bava. Budget to execution, I'm gonna go with Louis Teague.
Nice. Love Louis Teague.
Very nice.
Cat's Eye, Alligator, can't go wrong.
Yeah, I saw Arrow Video recently released one of his movies, was called Fighting Back. It's kind of on the same lines as Death Wish. It's like a revenge thriller, but you have Tom Skerritt playing in the main role. And the film was lost for like a long time. It never got a DVD or a VHS release, but Arrow Video just released it.
Very cool.
But that's definitely a lesser known Louis Teague movie that people don't know about.
Okay. What do you got for us, Dana?
Okay, so I'm gonna have to be on the same level as Sean for storytelling. Stephen King, without question. There, cinematography, John Carpenter. Special effects, I'm gonna go to good old Italy with this one and say Argento because of the way he designs the effects. I know he has to work with a special effects guy, but you know that some of that has to come out of Argento's head. And it's gory and all of that stuff, but it's also morbidly grotesque or morbidly beautiful in a lot of ways. Casting, I'd have to go with Wes Craven. Camera work, Sam Raimi. And here's why, because just how he filmed those magnificent shots, for example, in the first Evil Dead. And then he just kept using that as building blocks. And like by the time Evil Dead 2 came around, he was doing, in my opinion, more impressive camera work. And budget to execution, I would have to go with George Romero on that.
I completely agree. I think you had some good choices in there. The only one that now I'm second guessing is maybe for special effects I would have said Cronenberg because I love the body horror in his movies.
Yeah.
That's one that I'm like I know I said Savini and you can't go wrong with Savini either, but like Cronenberg, man, some of the effects in those movies like to this day haunt me. Like anything in The Brood, I think still like scares the shit out of me, man.
Yeah.
That's some of the
The
best
Fly.
ones.
Even
Samantha Egger, like, oh my God, that is some scary ass shit. Steele says, give me Michael Mann for camera work, special effects, Nicotero, budget to execute. I'll pick GDT. Love Michael Mann's films. My favorite is Thief with James Caan. Top pick, Russell. What do you guys think of Mike Flanagan for story, Stan Winston for effects? I think those are great picks for me. Let's see. Russell was that. Okay. Manhunter. Let's see. I know you guys are talking. Okay, so that was an interesting topic, Matteo. Yeah, so we got the ultimate horror director there with all those 6 things intertwining to one.
With the face of Wes Craven, because all of us said the same name for that. So let's put the face of Wes Craven to the perfect director.
He's the face, man. And I don't think there's any horror director that ever made more money. I would say that he was probably the most successful in the like 70s, 80s, and 90s. He made a movie that changed the genre. Like 70s with Last House and Hills Have Eyes, 80s with Elm Street, 90s with Scream. Like no other horror filmmaker can really say that. Like that's tough to do, especially in the 90s, because that seems to be when they all hit their cold streak. But Craven kept on rolling, even though he, Vampire in Brooklyn, whatever. But Craven kept on rolling, man. So it is what it is. But all right, Sean, Blu Digital, what do you got for us, brother?
It's funny you were just mentioning Cronenberg because I've been thinking about, like just another topic here, and I've been thinking about body horror. So I would just want to ask you guys, what do you think about body horror, and what is your favorite body horror film, and what do you think is the best effects work you've seen in a body horror film?
Wow, exactly. Wow.
Yeah. I thought I was going down because you just picked one with like some categories, so I was like, let me go down a little bit more, a little bit less technical.
You want to give us yours first, Sean? I got to let this marinate a little bit in my brain.
Yeah, I mean, like overall, David Cronenberg's work is so undeniable. Some people are really turned off by most of the stuff that he does, but that's what I find so fascinating about him. But surprisingly, my favorite body horror film, and also at the same time, I think the best effects work in a body horror film, is actually not a David Cronenberg film. And my choice would definitely have to be Brian Hughes's 1989 film Society.
Mikey J was right on with you.
Same here.
Dude, I really feel like it's one of the most underrated body horror films. And at the same time, I also don't feel like Brian Hughes is a great filmmaker, but he knows how to utilize things with very little bits of things that he has to work with and making things work. And he learned a lot from Stuart Gordon as a filmmaker too, because he came into the game as a producer, eventually worked his way up to director. And I think Brian Hughes, like I said, he's not a great filmmaker, but he's done some really great things at the same time. So that's why I really I know a lot of people probably wouldn't agree with me about Society being like one of the best body horror films, but I feel like it's very underrated though.
I agree with you, Sean. I think that the special effects in Society are revolting, which are perfectly what they want you to be, revolt about that, but they're not vulgar. Like they're not, like we said, torture porn. They're like something that you watch it and you're like, you don't even know what you're watching because like it's different shots and like the Society, it's for sure the pinnacle of body horror. I love body horror. I think that the best effects are not in Society. I think they are in The Thing of Carpenter. But I'm not saying that Society is like not at the same level. And also the first contact I had with body horror was Hellraiser, the first one, and when I was a kid, because more or less I grew up in the 80s. So, and it was, I don't want to, it sounds gross, but it was love at first sight because I really like body horror. I love Cronenberg, Society, The Thing, The Fly, like everything that makes you go WTF, that you're not what you're watching. maybe for your best, like the one that I like the most as a special body horror effect, the one that shocked me the most, because I saw it when I was a little kid, was Reanimator. That one really got me because I wasn't expecting that had even, like, when you're a kid, you believe that that special effect is reality. So when you see it as an adult, you see, the camera and everything. But when you're a kid, that really shocked me. And there was another body horror, but I forgot. So if someone mentioned it after, I'm gonna jump over and say, yeah, that's the other one that I meant. Oh, Scanner, the head that exploding Scanner. That's up there as well.
Gotta love it. What do you got, Dana?
Okay, so this is probably going to surprise all you guys, because when Sean first mentioned it, I went directly to Cronenberg, of course, mainly because that's what we associate. That's the director we associate with body horror most of the time. And also because I've been doing those Camp Cronenberg streams. So me and whoever decides to come on with me have been talking about nothing but Cronenberg movies, of course, in those streams. But I watched this little gem again, and I think it fits the body horror thing really well, and that's Dead and Buried.
Oh yeah, love it.
And so I have to put that one as like the best body horror, best effects. I would go back to Cronenberg with Videodrome.
Videodrome is my favorite Cronenberg movie for sure. And I'll mention a guy that hasn't gotten mentioned yet, would be Frank Henenlotter. I love a lot of the Frank Henenlotter stuff. Like Basket Case, I always love. Like the whole idea of having your brother in the basket and Bilal. And granted, it's not a great effect by any means, but it is, like, to me, one of the first movies that comes to mind for body horror for me. I just always loved that. Of course, Bad Biology from Frank Henenlotter, which I don't know if people have seen that. That's body horror in a different way, man. That is a hard, crazy movie. Of course, Frankenhooker, love that. If I'm going Cronenberg, I lean towards like The Brood, Videodrome, Rabid. I think Rabid is really good body horror with the I forget the actress's name. I think she was a porn star, Marilyn Chambers.
Yeah, Marilyn Chambers.
And she gets the thing under her armpit, and it's like piercing people and stuff like that. And oh my God, that freaked me out, man, when I was a kid. I always thought that was just so fucking disturbing. I see Uncle Bill mentions Tokyo Gore Police, which I'll be talking about in a couple of weeks. That's a great body horror movie. I would agree with that. Like the scene with the girl, she's like half human, and the rest of her is like this giant like mouth monster thing. Like, holy crap, that scared the shit out of me, man. Like body horror gets me like. That's some of the most effective horror to me because I actually have a hard time watching it. Like, it's, to me, some of the scariest shit.
I was going to say that, dude. I was like sitting there thinking about it. Like, like body horror is really like the one subgenre that really like gets to me. It makes me start paying attention to what I'm watching and really analyze what I'm watching, and it freaks me the fuck out.
Me too, and in a different way, right? It's not really necessarily like tension-filled or like gory, but it's just like explicit in a way.
It's
and
unpredictable.
It's like,
what the fuck, It's
like in Society with the
happen.
guy's fucking head popping out of the ass. Like, you don't expect to see that in a movie, but there it is, and it's
and then it makes you think, like, could this really happen to a body? Could this happen to me? Like, like a certain thing.
Yeah, they always say, like,
I always told you you're a butthead. Or something like that. Yeah.
Somebody mentioned that. Yeah, I love the line. I am a butthead. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. No, I love. Society is a lot of fun, man. I don't know. Like, body horror is definitely, to me, one of the scariest subgenres. Like, it always gets me. Like, I'm always like, oh my God. Like, can I imagine if that happened to me? Like, oh my gosh. Like, it definitely makes me double take. I would say another one. I don't know if it's straight up body horror from Cronenberg, but it has body horror elements. Is Dead Ringers. Dead Ringers. That movie I have a hard time watching. It's mainly because of Jeremy Irons. He's just so good in the movie. It just makes you uncomfortable though while you watch it. It's one of those, man. So yeah, love me some body horror. Let's see what people are saying. Society. Videodrome Shivers, The Brood, Rabbit, The Fly. Can't go wrong with Cronenberg movies. Fever Dream on Theater. Anthony's in the house. I probably saw Fly first on TV, even edited to heck. It still creeped me out as a kid. Amazing practical effects. When John Cassavetes explodes the end of The Fury, it's badass. Let's see. Love the song in The Fly, Help Me by Brian Ferry. Blowing Up Hookers. Yes, with the super crack, right? The super crack. And oh my God, I love that movie, man. Mikey J mentioned Slither. Okay, definitely could see Slither. Slither is funny. Newer body horror things would be Human Centipede, which I'll be honest, the first time I watched that, I was freaked out. And the second one too, but they're not great movies. Tetsuo the Iron Man, that's a great one. Love Tetsuo the Iron Man. And James Abernathy's in the house. What's going on, James? All right, so that brings me to I'm sorry. Tom says Autopsy of Jane Doe. That's a really good movie. That's some good atmosphere. Is The Ruins body horror? I mean, I guess so, right? Wasn't it the weeds got under the people? Like they were all fucking trapped like on a pyramid or something? That was a weird movie. Anybody remember that?
Sorry.
I remember The Ruins. I just can't remember it like the back of my hand. I don't own that one.
I think what happened was like the weeds got under them and they started like cutting each other's body parts off to fucking try to like disinfect each other. It was crazy one. Just woke up. We'll check out in the morning. Thank you, man. Thank you. All right, so let's get to my second topic of the evening here. I've got it written up here. All right, so hypothetical. You're a director of an upcoming horror film, any kind of horror film you want. The producer comes to you and gives you a list of 4 actresses that could be the lead of your film. So of these 4 actresses, who are you going to pick to work with and why? You got Margot Kidder, Daria Nicolodi, Barbara Crampton, or Angela Bettis. You can work with any of these 4, one of any of these 4 in their prime, because I know, sadly, Kidder and Nicolodi are no longer with us. So one of those 4, Margot Kidder, Daria Nicolodi, Barbara Crampton, Angela Bettis, and why? Why would you want to work with one of those 4 in your horror movie? Heavy hitters, huh?
I'll go first, I guess. Name them again. I pretty much already have my pick, but I just want to make sure.
I think I know who your pick is too, but I'm okay. So we got Margot Kidder, Daria Nicolodi, Barbara Crampton, Angela Bettis. If you could work with any of those 4 in their prime, why and who?
I gotta go with Barbara Crampton.
I knew it.
She's always been up there as like one of my favorite scream queens in general, and I like the other picks, but Barbara really stands out the most out of all those picks. And yeah, just a beautiful woman to look at throughout movies. I've always enjoyed her. She can really carry a movie in a starring role. She knows how to do that very well, and she's still making movies to this day. And she hasn't really aged much.
She looks
she's
great.
Gotta look, if she's got to look older in a movie, they got to make her look older, and she's like, I think she's already in her 60s, and just, I don't know. I've never seen anything as far as imperfection with her. Like everything's always like with her in movies, like I just feel like she does a really good job of selling her characters, and yeah, just a very, very well-rounded actress overall.
She's great in Castle Freak. Like I watched that a couple weeks ago for the show, man. She almost steals Castle Freak from Jeffrey Combs. She's so good in that movie when she's delivering this like really dramatic line. I think she has a good range. Like she can be funny, she can be serious. She's beautiful 24/7. I mean, I think Barbara Crampton is just such an underrated talent, but she's a scream queen that not enough people mention. Like I think she's a scream queen. Like I totally love Barbara Crampton, man.
Yeah, I would definitely put her up there. She's not in a whole lot of slasher movies, like Jamie Lee Curtis, but she's did her fair share of horror movies, and I think she definitely deserves that rank.
I would agree. What do you guys got?
Go ahead.
Oh, Matteo, I didn't want to talk over you.
No, go ahead.
So I'm going to go with Daria Nicolodi, because I just like Daria Nicolodi's quirky style she always had. And by that, I mean, like, some people didn't like, for instance, the comedic parts of Deep Red that were kind of taken out and then put back in later. But I loved it because that really let her shine, because she could be serious, she could be quirky, or she could just be all out funny. That whole scene was with her and Mark in the car, and the window keeps falling down. He can't open the door, can't do this. He slides down the seat. The things are just falling down in his face and stuff. And she's like,
The arm
"Oh,
wrestling.
yeah, 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 exactly." And I feel like she had a lot of range as well. Because it seemed like she could do it all in a movie. If you needed her to be serious and dramatic, she could do that. If you needed her to be batshit crazy, she could do that too, because she was certainly like that in Phenomena.
Yeah.
She went totally off the deep end in that. Um, but she could also just be kind of uh, flirtatious and funny, like she was in some parts of Deep Red. So yeah, I would definitely have to go with her.
That's a great pick.
Apparently she's a really good writer too.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Every maestro has a beautiful woman behind his success, and like I see, the thing with Daria too, I would agree with Dana. I think that's a great pick. Is that, yeah, she had a lot of range. I agree with you when you say that. She did have a lot of range to her. Like, I love her character in Deep Red. I like the arm wrestling and the sort of battle the sexes between them. I thought that was a great, like, little, like, they had nice chemistry together. And then, you even fast forward to like Opera, when she has the small scene, but it's so memorable with the people and getting shot through the people. Like, oh my God, Daria! Like, and I believe that was around the time they were getting divorced. So Shiha always said, like, I think that son of a bitch wanted to do that to me in real life, so he throws it in Opera and blows my fucking head off. I always thought that was great. But Daria, and I honestly, I see a lot of Daria in Asia. I think Asia has a lot of that. Like, I think Asia is way more attractive, but I think Asia's got that range like that too. But I actually don't know if Asia could be as funny as Daria. Like, I think Daria was a little bit more funny. Mateo's like, nah, Asia's hard. I think you hate her voice, right? You hate
Asia.
I
can't stand her. I'm sorry for Asia Argento, but yeah, as an actress, I'll prefer a dog.
Dog! Oh no! Well, okay. Of the four, other than Matt had a dog to Mateo's, those four and a dog. Who do you got, Matteo? Who are you making your horror film with?
I was going 50-50 with Marco Kidder and Daria, but I have to go Daria. Because, yes, Evil That Chick said exactly what I was thinking, because I don't think that Deep Red would be such the movie that it is without that counterpart of her being, I don't know, optimistic, jolly during the movie. I think that it would be more of like a depressing movie if you don't have that in those times that, you don't have an homicide or a tension moment. Like, it's a movie about a kid that witnessed her mother killing the husband during Christmas. So it's pretty sad. It's pretty, dragging. And so I think that she does a wonderful job for the movie. She was, crazy in Phenomena, and no man can kill her, just as chimpanzee. So, that will tell you something about the character. And another thing that I want to say, it's me, right? Working with her because I have a movie, correct?
Correct.
So I think that the cinema have not given Daria Nicolodi what she really deserved, because she was only working mainly with Dario. And I think that other horror directors could have given them more chance to be part of their movie, but she was always not given that opportunity. So if I have the opportunity to give her work, not with the maestro, I am the first one to do it.
I think that's nice, man. And I think Daria deserved that. And so is Barbara Crampton, for that matter. Like, I definitely think those two needed more exposure. Maybe like of those four, Margot Kidder definitely was the most well known, like, without a doubt, because she was Lois Lane. Like, people knew Margot Kidder. She was a big deal. But actually, I went Bettis. I went Angela Bettis. Just honestly, I'm just such a fan of May. I think, like, there are few horror movies ever to me that Fade to Black is quite like May. Like, the ending of that movie always, like, I remember the first time I saw it, I was like, wow. Like I sat there for a while, like rubbing my head and just being like in awe. And her performance really drives it home for me of just how, depressing and sad and tragic that character was. And the whole thing, like idea where she comes up where, there is no such thing as a perfect person. There's only perfect parts, and I'll make my own perfect person. Like that whole thing was just scary. But she's also great in some other stuff. I mean, I like her a lot in Girl Interrupted. I really love her in she's in The Woman, which was another Lucky McKee movie where she's playing like the housewife role, and she's had it up to here being, mistreated and things like that. I thought she was really good in that movie as well, man. She did 12-Hour Shift, I think it was called, which was like she was playing a nurse in the movie. That was a good, fun little horror movie. I don't know. I would love to work with her and give her more mainstream exposure because you look at the Carrie movie she did, right? Which was the TV movie in 2002. That's like the version of Carrie that doesn't get talked about, like we all, of course, the De Palma one, and then even the remake with Chloe Grace Moretz, but like nobody really remembers the 2002 Carrie movie. I thought she was the best Carrie that there was, man. I thought she was so good as that part. Now the movie is definitely not half as good as De Palma's movie, but her in the role I thought was great. Like she was just born to play a creep, a weirdo, and I'd love to see her get some mainstream love, man. I like her, man. She's quirky, weird. Like I don't know if you guys remember the Masters of Horror with her with the Sick Girl, where she's her and I think was it Misty Monday, right? It was Misty Monday is like her lover in it, and she starts turning into a bug. Like that, oh my god, that creeped me out, man. I love Bettis, man. I would love to work
that
with
relates back to body horror.
Yeah, sure. Definitely some body horror in there. But yeah, no, I'll go back. So, okay. So we had one Crampton, one Bettis, two Daria Nicolodi. Okay. So fair enough. I think those are all wonderful choices. I think it's nice that we all picked the, lesser talked about ones than a Margot Kidder, even though she was awesome. But let's see. I love Shook. I think somebody mentioned Daria's performance in Shook, which was, I believe, the last Mario Bava movie. Which that's an awesome movie, by the way. That's
Shock. You're talking about Shock.
Yeah. Shock is a really good one, man. Angela Bettis is in a movie where they steal and sell the organs from. Yes, that's 12-Hour Shift. I liked that movie a lot. Let's see. May is great. Love Angela Bettis. She made the remake. That's right. Yeah, she's the lead in that too. I always forget about that movie. I think that Toby Hooper, did Toolbox Murders remake. Which I don't remember. I think Sherry Moon's
Rob Zombie's wife, Sherry Moon, has like a quick role in the beginning of the movie.
Yeah, I think that's the only movie she ever did without Rob Zombie directing, weirdly enough. I read that the 2002 Carrie movie was originally supposed to be a TV series. Yes, that's right. It sets it up for a pilot at the end, didn't end up working out. But I would have killed to see more Angela Bettis as that character, man. That would have been really cool to see for me. Slasher for that Carrie remake is awful. I don't mind it that much, but I don't know. Yeah. Maybe it's just for Bettis. Maybe I'm just a fan of Bettis. I don't know. Maybe.
I'm not a big fan of it. I gotta admit.
I can understand. It's very long. It's a little too long in the tooth, but I mean, it is what it is. But
Daria was good in Tenebrae too, eh?
Oh my god!
Yes.
Yeah. She was. If you think about it, they were married from what was it, 75 to 87? That was his prime. Like Deep Red, Suspiria, Inferno, Tenebrae, Phenomena, Opera. Those are the movies he made when he was married to her.
And she was there writing most of it. She was there writing most of the stuff for him.
I think, she was big co-writer of Suspiria, like to the point where, like, I think she's always credited. I know in the remake she was credited as like one of the main writer of Suspiria, and like she was, behind him, man. Like that was his best run. I think was for Argento. That 12-year run was just so fucking good, man. Just hit after hit, and she was a part of all of them in some way, shape, or form. So. Definitely love the Daria Nicolodi love on this show, man. May she rest in peace. Definitely love her. But that was all four of us had topics. Now these usually go 2 hours. Would anybody have a bonus topic that you want to throw out there, or do you guys want to call it a night? I'm fine if you guys want to call it.
I have one.
Okay, all right, fair enough.
Okay, so I read The Room, and Evil Dead chick answered like me for one of the characters you asked me. I would like to go out for dinner. I said Stephen King too. And I see that Sean was mentioning Stephen King before. So one quick topic: which one you think are the best 3 horror movies done based on Stephen King novel, and which one are the worst, on your opinion?
3 best and 3 worst Stephen Kings.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Best would be The Shining for me, even though I know he hates it. Then I'd say Stand By Me. I think I know it's not horror, but Stand By Me would be that. I love that short story too. The Body is a really good short story as well. I'll avoid saying Shawshank because I do love that movie. So it would be The Shining, Stand By Me, and then I want to say Creepshow, but you said it had to be based on a novel.
Based on or a story or a novel or a book. Yeah.
Or a book. Okay, so we'll annex that Creepshow, even though Creepshow probably would be my pick. I love Cat's Eye, but again, that's not a fucking novel. I'm having a hard time with the third one here. Oh, Carrie. There you go. Fucking, we were always talking of Carrie. Yeah, Carrie for sure. Those would be my 3. And then 3 worst. I got you. The Shit Weasels one. What was the Shit Weasels one with fucking Dreamcatcher? Was that what it was called?
Oh,
That fucking movie stinks.
it's us.
That fucking movie, the Shit Weasels. What the hell happened? There's one that has some of the worst effects in it ever, but I kind of like is the Langoliers. I don't know if people remember that one.
Yeah.
That movie has arguably the worst effects I've ever seen, but I kind of like it because it's so bizarre. Sleepwalkers is bad. What was the not 1408, but there was one with Sam Jackson and John Cusack.
1408.
Oh,
That's
Sail.
1408.
Cell. 1408 I like. Cell was horrible. I'd say Cell. And then lastly,
It. Come on.
yeah, the remake of it.
A remake, of course. Yeah.
Stephen King shit. Yes.
Yeah.
Those would be my 3 words.
I forgot about that.
I think that I will put up there The Green Mile. And The Shining, I find that a Kubrick movie. It's not a Stephen King movie because it's so does it as an allegory of the Native Americans. For me, that's not Stephen King. It's not a novel from Stephen King. It's too far-fetched from it. I think one of the worst was Needful Things that I watched because the book was great, but the movie execution was terrible. The only good thing was Max von Sydow, but even with that, it was a little weak. And I would say that up there for me is Misery as well.
Love Misery. Misery's
I
top
think
5.
that probably I read a lot of Stephen King novels. I think that one is one of the closest you can go to the book, to the movie. Very, very, very close to the book.
What about 3 worst?
3 worst, shit. Probably that one can get 2 spots because there's 1 and 2, so I'll use those. And probably there was one, I don't know if you guys remember, called The Tommyknockers.
I read that. I actually read the book.
That was 1990s horror at their worst.
Yeah.
CGI praying mantis Dracula 3D level. That was terrible. Terrible.
I love the way you said shit in an Italian accent. The shit. Next time I say it, I have to say it like that. This is shit.
So I think those are mine. And one thing, I read a book. I don't remember now if it's called with the date. I think it's 11/4/63. And I really love the book, and I hope that someone picks it up and does a great job with the movie. But I doubt it, since now it's 11 or 12 years to that the book came out. It's about basically going into the past and modify the Kennedy assassination. So it would be something cool to watch.
They did do but I think it was limited. I forgot what it was shown on. It was
a short 2 or 3 episodes, right? Something like that.
Yeah, it wasn't real long. I enjoyed it, but they should have gave it a wider release is what they should have done, and probably did more episodes. It probably would have made it even better. I think.
What about you guys? What do you got? Evil Dead Chicken, Sean Blue.
Well, I can go next. So you guys are probably going to be shocked that the three best I'm going to pick are not horror-related Stephen King titles. Stand By Me, of course, is on there. The Green Mile and Shawshank Redemption.
Great picks.
The three worst, Lawnmower Man, because like.
Ooh, wow.
Stephen King wanted his name taken off that piece of crap. So, and I watched that, blindly going into it thinking, oh, it can't be that bad. It's based on a Stephen King story. Yes, it can be that bad. Now, some people like The Mangler. They say it's just, crazy good fun, but I just never much cared for it. And here's one that's more recent, that Dark Tower movie they put out. What a piece of shit. And it's got Matthew McConaughey on it, and I love Matthew McConaughey. But
and Idris Elba, which is a great actor too.
Exactly.
Man.
That was just
garbage.
Abysmal is what that was.
What do you got, Sean?
All right, I'll pick the three worst first, I guess. My number 3 is gonna have to be. Let's see what's coming in at number 3. Dreamcatcher. Definitely.
Yeah, that movie sucks.
Dreamcatcher's got to make the list. And number 2, I'm gonna go. Actually, it's a shame because I like the 2 performances in this movie, but as it's going along and it just feels like the execution is just not there for this movie, and that's Dolores Claiborne. So Dolores Claiborne will be my number 2, and number 1 is definitely The Lawnmower Man. That is the worst Stephen King movie, I think. Still to this day. Like I enjoyed The Dark Tower more than Lawnmower Man.
I never got through Lawnmower Man, so I can't even. It would probably make my bottom 3, but I didn't even finish it. Sometimes They Come Back. I actually really like Sometimes They Come Back. It's a little long.
Yeah, I've always enjoyed that one.
That's a good one. Tom McLaughlin, who did Friday 6, I think, did that, and that's a damn good movie. I think Gerald's Game is closest to the story to the book. Not great, but closest. Best Misery, Carrie, Dolores Claiborne. Worst, Children of the Corn. Dude's Damn No Love. Dolores Claiborne is awesome, Miss Carter. Okay, so we got some Dolores Claiborne fans. Okay. Pet Sematary, Shining, Salem's Lot, Best, Mangler, Boogeyman, Lawnmower Man. So anything with a man or Mangler, Tom is like, nah, not having it. Pet Sematary is great.
Pet Sematary is great.
Pet Sematary is fantastic. Yeah, I would agree. Let's see. There was also Salem's Lot remake, but that's right, with Rob Lowe. No one remembers that, but that is great. Worst King was The Shit in the Tall Grass. I didn't see that.
I hadn't seen
that was
that
on Netflix. I think that was a Netflix thing.
Okay, I missed that one. Thankfully, I'll trust Brother Steele here. Tommy Knocker's King's at his lowest addiction point, and then I think The Langoliers was shortly after that. Which that movie, it's bad, but I sort of like it.
Night Flyer just missed my list.
I like Night Flyer. Any of you guys seen that?
Yeah, I like Night Flyer. We need a Blu-ray for the Night Flyer.
Damn
already.
right.
What the fuck, man?
Miguel Ferrer in that is so freaking good. There's a TV series of that book. It's on Hulu. If you guys ever watched the series Castle Rock, I've never watched that.
That was excellent.
Yeah, that's not bad at all.
Let me ask, who played Annie Wilkes if it's the prequel story of her? Like, who'd they get? Was it No Name or...
Knowing how the movies go now, maybe it's Kathy Bates with they make them.
They de-aged her,
right?
Yeah. That would have been cool.
I loved in one of the Saw movies. They didn't bother the DCGI Tobin Bell. They just put like a baseball cap on him backwards. He just shows up. He's like, "I'm younger now. I got a baseball hat on."
I think the best Stephen King, as far as like newer modern stuff goes, I thought the Outsider series that came on HBO. You guys remember that? Stephen King, The Outsider? Mm-hmm. That was really fucking good. I enjoyed that a lot.
I think of his most recent stuff, The Gerald's Game was good. Because I think he got, what was that? Was it Mike Flanagan that made that? Because he's the man. I think Mike Flanagan's one of the best in the game right now.
You might be right about that. I'm not too sure though.
Saw it, Fred. Yes, Ledger Fred's second season of Castle Rock was great. I've got to see that. If it's about Annie Wilkes, that really intrigues me. I'm just curious as like who plays her, because that's one of those characters where it's like Kathy Bates was so good as that part. I couldn't imagine anyone else, but I've got to check that out for sure.
John, someone was saying the Tall Grass. I watched it on Netflix. It was caca. But they shot it in a church that is like 10 kilometers from where I live. So I watched it just for that. Yeah, it's an abandoned church, and they shot him there. So
Small world. That is really cool. Dark Tower should be like a series like Game of Thrones, not a fucking film like they did ruin the whole thing. Love all the movies, bad and good. Okay, Lizzie Kaplan, that rings a bell. Lizzie Kaplan. I don't know why that rings a bell, but I can't think of what I know her from. Dark Tower, is that the one where her husband is haunting his wife's building? Lizzie Kaplan was in True Blood and Mean Girls. Oh, okay. I know who that. Oh, wow. Okay, I've got to see that then. Nope, Mikey. Dark Tower is the series of books with the role in Gunslinger. I also would say I like some of the stuff he wrote under the pseudonym of Richard Bachman. Like, I love The Running Man. This is so many good Stephen King adaptations out there, man. He's arguably the best creative mind that ever was.
Definitely.
Not even just horror. Like movies that Dana picked. Stand By Me is like in my top 10. I love Stand By Me. Like that's a fucking masterpiece. And like Shawshank Redemption, I think is the highest rated movie ever. Right? Like it's on IMDb. It's like #1 movie ever. So I mean, guy did something. Right.
Amazing.
Guy knew how to move. So so we're gonna have this about 2 hours. Unless anybody else has anything else you guys want to talk about. This was a lot of fun.
I still got to pick my 3 favorite.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, it's all right. I'll go through it real quick. But number 3 would be the original Salem's Lot. Number 2 would be Carrie, and number 1 would be the original Pet Sematary.
Hell yeah. I like all of those. Mary Lambert did a great job with Pet Sematary.
Yes, she did.
That's like, it's wild to me that was one of her first movies. I think it might have even been her first movie. Like, could you imagine?
I think you're right. And I also feel like it was a very wise choice to bring her back for the second film.
The thing, it's interesting though, is the second film, it feels completely different. Like to the first one for me.
It does. It's like, I don't know. Like I feel like the look of it's still in the same realm, but the feel of the movie as it goes along, it's got its own thing going on.
Yeah, it's one of those sequels I always like had a guilty pleasure for. Like I kind of have fun with it. Like especially the ending where the mom is like burning down the fucking and she starts melting. I was like, what the hell? Like, why is this lady melting? Like, what the fuck? Never got that. And the Clancy Brown in that is so much fun with the
he's very demented in that movie. Once he crosses over to a zombie.
Exactly.
Oh, we lost Sean for a second there. The dinner scene where he puts the mashed potatoes in his mouth and they all start laughing. And it's
that's a classic scene. That's a good one.
Yeah. No,
I got a quick question for everybody since we were talking about Stephen King stuff. Do you guys have a favorite Stephen King based miniseries?
Well, hands down, I can answer for you right now. For me, it's 1990 It. Yeah.
I'm gonna go with The Stand. I absolutely love that.
I would also pick The Stand.
The Stand is awesome, and so is it. The first part of it, I would say the first episode of it is that's such a good
where it deals with just the kids.
This story works so much better when they're kids. For some reason, it didn't work when they were adults the same. Like I don't know, maybe because they didn't use Tim Curry as much, especially in the finale. Like they should have just battled. Like I don't get why it was a giant like practical spider that they fought. Like, I always thought they should have just fought because the finale of the one with the kids is great. Where they're in the sewer and he runs at them, like that's a great finale. I would probably.
Adult actors are a little weak too. With all due respect for them, but
I like John Ritter, but the rest of them are like forgettable. Like they're definitely not as good. Like Jonathan Brandis, I thought did really good in the lead role, and the kids were believable. I think, didn't the girl play Beverly? She went on to be in like Ginger Snaps, and
Yeah.
Emily Perkins, I think her name is. She did great. She did really good. Those kids were so good, man. I don't know why, but I always felt that, the first part of that works a lot. I'll go with Matteo. I'll go with it over shit.
Oh, absolutely. Carry over Scooby-Doo, right?
Yes, exactly. Scooby-Dooby douchebag. That's the worst. But no, that's a good one, man. Yeah, anybody else, if you guys want to keep going, we could. I mean, I'm not in a rush or anything, but this is what it is. Anybody else have any other topics you want to run through, or?
I'm good.
Okay. Well, everybody, I wanted to say thank you all. This was so much fun, as always. I love doing these roundtable shows. It's so fun to shoot the breeze with fellow horror fans such as you guys. And I'm happy. Evil Dead chick, Sean Blu Digital. This is your first exposure to the graveyard, so I hope you had a fun time. Matteo, returning
definitely.
Yeah, no, this is always a fun time, and these are fun shows. And the chat, I want to thank everybody in the chat. There was a ton of people here tonight. Really appreciate all of your guys' support. If you guys catch the replay, comment down below. Let us know what some of your favorite topics were. What are some of your thoughts on the topics? And next week, there actually won't be a show on here. Night Watch from the Night Watch Zone asked to interview me, and I'm going to be on his channel next Thursday night. So it'll be an interview. I don't know what the interview is going to be or what he's going to ask, but I'll be over there. So Grande's Guru channel will be off on a break next week, but I will be live on a Thursday just on somebody else's channel. But Dana, Matteo, Sean, all you guys, thank you so much for coming on tonight. It was a lot of fun.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Yeah, thank you too, man. I really do appreciate it.
Dude,
an honor and a pleasure, John. You know that.
Absolutely, my friends. All right, guys. So that's going to be all for now. And you can catch us next time only on The Graveyard. Too Sweet Peace. Good night, everybody.